Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. I really enjoy watching other people's anticipated releases videos, even though right now I'm a bit behind in actually watching them. But I put together a list of my own based on what has come across my radar sort of organically. These are titles that are coming out between the end of the year and I'm going up through the beginning part of 2024. I just want to touch on each one briefly and talk about what interested me in it, and hopefully you'll get some ideas and inspiration for your own TBR. But let's face it, none of us ever really need help making the TBR longer, do we? The first book on my list comes out at the end of this year, and it is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. It's the sequel to Divine Rivals. I read Divine Rivals as an e-arc, basically in one sitting. I thought the emotion was wonderful, the atmosphere was great. I was really drawn in to the struggles of the main characters and then the danger that they found themselves in. Ruthless Vows is the conclusion of that duology, and I've been thinking about rereading Divine Rivals before. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do that, but it's a highly anticipated sequel. And apparently, I'm not on TikTok, but apparently it's really been picking up steam over there. So yay for Rebecca Ross. I'm glad for her, but I did make sure to pre-order my copy so I could get one. Next is, I think, the only young adult novel on this list, A Fragile Enchantment, which comes out January 2nd. In this romantic fantasy of manners from New York Times bestselling author Allison Saft, a magical dressmaker commissioned for a royal wedding finds herself embroiled in scandal when a gossip columnist draws attention to her undeniable chemistry with the groom. Honestly, I noticed the author's name first, Allison Saft. I really like the story that she wove in A Far Wilder Magic. I was at a conference when I was reading that one, and basically when I was standing in line at like the expo to interact with different exhibits, I would call that one up and just read it. I couldn't put it down. So I'm hoping that I enjoy this next Allison Saft just as much. Also in mid-January, Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, which is a sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I was charmed by Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I think it depends on if you like that the style it's written in, which is as a series of journal entries explaining the story, so that may or may not jive with some people. Each book is sort of like its own episode with a few overarching plot points connecting them, so I don't really want to talk about the one that I think they'll be exploring in this one because it would be a spoiler for book one, but I am eager to continue the journey with the main characters. So that's another sequel coming out. I do have the e-arc for this one, but I haven't read it yet. I prioritized reading the books that came out in 2023, and I haven't started the 2024 ones yet. Speaking of an e-arc, I was just granted this one for The Trials of Empire, which comes out in early February. It is the conclusion of the Justice of Kings trilogy. The Justice of Kings was my favorite book of 2022, and I thought that the sequel to that one, The Empire of the Wolf, I think that's what it was called, really took it up another level. Yes, the trilogy is being concluded, and it comes out in February. There are 2 Norse-inspired books on my list because I have a sweet spot for Norse-inspired fantasy. I don't know why, I just really enjoy it. The first one that comes out February 13th is called A Flame in the North, which is a thrilling North-inspired epic fantasy about ancient myth and magical destiny. So this one's multi-character that are interjoined in their adventure. Hallie, your tags, girl. Sit. And the second one is more romantasy. A fate inked in blood. A shield maiden, blessed by the gods, battles to unite a nation under a power-hungry king, while fighting her growing desire for his fiery son. In the first book of a Norse-inspired fantasy romance series from the best-selling author of The Bridge Kingdom. I read The Bridge Kingdom, and Talk about some really good characterizations. The Bridge Kingdom was a book, actually, because she ended it on a cliffhanger, where when I got to the end, I honestly threw the book across the room. So let's see what she does with some North-inspired romantasy. This one attracted my interest mostly because of the 2 comp books, and also because it seems gothic. It's called The Bride of Death. In the vein of Naomi Novik's Uprooted and Catherine Arden's The Bear and the Nightingale, this unforgettable adult debut follows the journey of a young woman who seeks to defeat Death himself and save her village from his torment. And based on the back cover copy, it seems like the comp for Uprooted is very strong, and I loved A Bear and the Nightingale. Just the way that Catherine Arden wrote those books, the style of her prose, it was almost like a fairy tale. And so the fact that this comp's 2 books I really loved, and I have both of them on my bookshelves, means I'm interested in picking this one up. I also stumbled over one called A Feather So Black, which I think is going to have a mythic quality to it, kind of a fairy tale retelling quality. Set in a world of perilous magic and moonlit forests, this is a romantasy that tells the story of a defiant changeling, her cursed sister, and the dangerous Fey Lord she must defeat to save her family. I was really intrigued by the fact that it's a changeling, and let's face it, I really like romantic fantasy that's always going to kind of make me raise my eyebrow with some interest, so I'm adding that one to my list. Now I have some science fiction. Ghost Station comes out April 9th. It is by S.A. Barnes, who wrote Dead Silence, which was a wacky, really fun science fiction horror that came out, I think, in 2022. In this one, a crew must try to survive on an ancient, abandoned planet, and the latest space horror novel from S.A. Barnes. I saw S.A. Barnes, and I just added it to my list. Another science fiction for my list is In Our Stars by Jack Campbell. Lieutenant Celine Genji has one last chance to save the Earth from destruction in this pulse-pounding science fiction adventure from the author of New York Times bestselling Lost Fleet series. I know a lot of people love Lost Fleet. In the back cover copy, they were talking about bioengineered humans. I like a science fiction thriller, added it to the list. And then last, another sequel, Relics of Ruin by Aaron Evans. This is the sequel to Empire of Exiles. I did a whole reading vlog for that when I read it in my first impressions, which has some really creative world building and story structure. So this is the sequel, The Adventure Continues, and I'm gonna pick this one up in April when it comes out. Those are some books that I am anticipating for the early part of 2023. Some of these I may be able to get my hands on early, so let me know if you'd like me to do any reading vlogs for them. But please also tell me what you're anticipating so I can add it to my list, as I am behind in watching other booktubers' videos, reading the list, and getting more ideas for my TBR. I want to know what should be on my radar in case there's a pre-order sale that happens. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some ideas for your lists. And as always, don't forget to support your local library. Thanks.